Cassie told the jury that the freakoffs made her feel disgusting and humiliated and worthless.
She did say these freakoffs lasted between 1 and 4 days, and it would take her an equal amount of time to get her body recovered, to rehydrate, to rest.
Well, I think we're going to learn a lot about the nature of Cassie's relationship with Diddy.
Cassie Ventura just named Christina Quorum as keeping tabs on her for Diddy.
The second thing that was discussed this morning, will the public, will the media be able to see video of these freakoffs?
Day 2 of testimony. In the explosive case against Sean Diddy Combs has just wrapped, and the courtroom is shaken. Cassie took the stand and delivered a gut-wrenching account, revealing that Diddy forced her to have sex with hired escorts. And even worse, she testified that he made the escorts urinate on her. The horrific details of the abuse stunned everyone in the room, but the revelations didn't stop there. Prosecutors pulled a bold move, bringing in one of the escorts to testify, and what she said about Diddy could turn the entire case upside down. Meanwhile, hotel staff have come forward with bombshell claims. Diddy allegedly paid them hush money to stay silent and cover up his twisted activities behind closed doors. As the courtroom held its breath, Cassie suddenly broke down in tears during her testimony. Why? What memory triggered her pain in that exact moment? And what exactly did the escort reveal about Diddy's dark private world?
2 witnesses were called today, including a former security officer at the hotel, where Diddy is seen on video attacking Ventura brutally. You remember that video back in 2016. The prosecutors played the video. The witness testified that Diddy tried to pay him off with a giant wad of cash. The day's second witness was a male escort. This is where it really got very juicy, who says that he was paid by Diddy numerous times to have sex with Cassie while Diddy sat there in the corner, masturbating and watched. He says he once saw Diddy throw a liquor bottle at Cassie and heard him beating her in another.
The disturbing truth behind Diddy's alleged abuse is spiraling into darker territory, and it's more horrifying than anyone imagined. Prosecutors are laying it all bare, painting a picture of a man who didn't act alone. From his chief of staff to his bodyguards, Diddy's inner circle is now being accused of playing a direct role in covering up his crimes. Hotel employees have come forward, claiming Diddy paid them off to erase any trace of the abuse happening behind luxury suite doors. But the most chilling revelation? At one point, Diddy allegedly kidnapped Cassie after she tried to escape his control. A terrifying moment that shook even the courtroom. And it gets worse. The abuse was reportedly so vile, so inhumane, that even an escort Diddy personally hired refused to go along with it. Imagine how dark things had to be for someone in that world to say no. This isn't just about power. It's about a predator who believed he was untouchable. And now, the truth is catching up with him fast.
Emily Johnson actually said that Cassie did choke on the urine of an escort when Diddy forced this escort to allegedly urinate in her mouth. They did say inner circle numerous times, I believe, really trying to amplify the RICO charges. Diddy couldn't have done all of these crimes without his inner circle, right? Without his bodyguard, without his driver, without his assistant. They talked about alleged kidnappings. That one time he kidnapped his assistant to go and try to find Cassie when he thought Cassie was cheating. I mean, it was wild. I feel like I could go on forever, but I won't. At a certain point, wasn't able to perform for Diddy and Cassie. He got erectile dysfunction because of what he saw. He said he saw Diddy at one point after an encounter, drag Cassie by the hair from her computer seat all the way back to her bedroom while she was kicking and screaming and crying. And after she apologized and came out, he said that Diddy said, okay, you guys want to continue? And he couldn't perform. And that was it. From there, he could not perform after that. And he saw Diddy abuse Cassie 2 or 3 more times after that as well. And this is a muscular guy. He was 41 years old, a bit smaller, but again, he seemed incredibly affected by what he saw.
And was there, just quickly, Lauren, was there a point where he talked about, because I was trying to follow the blogs, again, it's hard, you were in there, it's difficult for us on the outside. Did he talk about Cassie at one point being under the influence of drugs to the point that she was slumped over and Diddy still wanted him to have sex with her.
Nightmare Cassie endured wasn't just emotional, it was physical, terrifying, and relentless. And according to explosive new testimony, Diddy showed zero remorse. Allegedly, if Cassie refused to participate in his twisted freak-off sessions, Diddy would beat her, drag her by the hair, and punch her into submission. These weren't isolated incidents. They were part of a chilling pattern. The sessions reportedly lasted days, draining Cassie of all strength, to the point where she had to be hooked up to IV fluids just to stay alive. That's how far her body was pushed. And then came the drugs. Cassie testified that the first time Diddy drugged her, she had no idea what was happening. Her drink was spiked, without warning, without consent. Only after the freak-off ended did Diddy casually admit he had laced her drink with ecstasy. This wasn't pleasure. This wasn't power. It was pure control, abuse, and psychological torture, masked behind fame and fortune. Now, the world is watching as every dark layer is peeled back. The truth is no longer hidden. It's being shouted from the courtroom.
Cassie told the jury that Diddy forced her into drug-fueled sex acts with male escorts while he watched, sometimes sitting in the corner and masturbating. Through tears, she said she took drugs to numb herself, ecstasy, cocaine, and ketamine, all of it allegedly supplied by Diddy. She said the freak-offs included as many as 4 male escorts at once and typically lasted 36 to 72 hours. The longest, she said, the longest freak-off that she said she was forced to perform in lasted 4 days. She said they took place around the world, from New York to Miami to Spain to even Turks and Caicos. And at every stop, Cassie said the hotel rooms were stocked by Diddy's staff with baby oil, condoms, and drugs. And she says that these hotel rooms, this is disgusting, the hotel rooms were left covered in baby oil and covered in blood and covered in urine. Cassie told the jury that the freak-offs made her feel disgusting and humiliated and worthless. But she said she couldn't say no because she says Diddy threatened to release videos of the freak-offs with her.
Just before they broke for lunch, Cassie Ventura described how freak-offs actually became a job, lasting 36 to 48 hours, the longest one lasting up to 4 days. No wonder the participants needed IV fluids after a freak-off. I'm just curious, to Lauren Collin joining us at the courthouse, how was the jury responding?
What I will say is Cassie made a point to say that when she wasn't making music, she was actually having to, quote, recover from these freak-offs. And again, she did say these freak-offs lasted between 1 and 4 days, and it would take her an equal amount of time to get her body recovered, to rehydrate.
Cassie was just 22 years old when her life became a living nightmare. According to her chilling testimony, that's when Diddy began forcing her into his infamous drug-fueled freak-off sessions, twisted events that would last anywhere from 1 to 4 days straight. During these disturbing marathons, Cassie was allegedly forced to have sex with multiple escorts, while Diddy sat back and watched, completely in control. These weren't isolated incidents. Cassie says they happened several times a month, each time leaving her more broken than the last. And the most disturbing part? Cassie believes many of these freak-offs were secretly recorded, turning her trauma into footage for someone else's sick obsession. The physical and emotional toll was devastating. Cassie said it often took weeks to recover, and the psychological scars ran even deeper. This wasn't a relationship, it was captivity, wrapped in luxury, powered by fear, and hidden behind Diddy's fame. And now, every sickening truth is being dragged into the light.
She said on the stand, at one point she said that a male escort had urinated in her mouth and she actually choked on it. And it was at that point someone in the courtroom actually had to walk out of the door there while, Diddy sat at the defense table listening on here. But as she was describing these events where she said that, there were multiple male escorts that were happening at one time, these freakoffs would happen for 2, 3, the longest 4 days at a time. And control is the word we need to talk about. That is what prosecutors really laid out. And you heard Cassie describe how every action during these freakoffs, which were between her and male escorts, not necessarily between her and her boyfriend, Sean Diddy Combs, he sat off to the side really directing things according to her and masturbating along with what he wanted to see. But he was in control, she said, of exactly how they did everything, from the platform shoes that she needed to wear, the clothes that she needed to wear occasionally, masks, wigs, whether or not the male escort could ejaculate, where he could ejaculate. Everything she said was controlled by him. And mind you, Brian, his children, 6 children, are in the courtroom at this point listening to all of this. And the jury was picked knowing that they needed a certain level of comfort to hear these types of descriptions. It was very emotional and really tough
wasn't just
to hear.
visible. It was undeniable, even to those Diddy brought into his dark world. The situation was so horrific that even the escorts he hired began to worry for her safety. According to new testimony, one escort, David, revealed that after witnessing Diddy viciously beat Cassie, all because she couldn't perform during a freak-off, he reached his breaking point. David testified that the violence was so disturbing he could no longer continue. He walked away, unable to stomach what he saw. Think about that. A paid escort, brought in for Diddy's twisted pleasure, saw so much abuse that even he said enough. That's how dark it got. This wasn't a fantasy. This wasn't indulgence. It was raw violence, power abuse, and unchecked control, and even those inside the room were shaken to their core. As the case against Diddy intensifies, voices like David's are cracking open the disturbing reality. Cassie was forced to live in
Once he saw Diddy beat Cassie, he could no longer, perform and be engaged, because before he said even if they hadn't paid him, he was excited to be part of their world. He was enjoying that kind of activity with them. And then things started changing when he saw one time he was on the couch, Cassie was at her computer, and Diddy, he said, was in Cassie's bedroom. Now, Diddy apparently called out to Cassie to come into the bedroom, and she allegedly told him, just hold on a second, my personal information's on the computer. Now, Daniel describes being absolutely shocked when all of a sudden a liquor bottle, Diddy throws it from across the room right toward Cassie, and then he comes running towards her, grabs her by her hair, drags her into her bedroom and tells her, when I tell you to come, you don't wait, you just come when I tell you. And he says he then heard, after the doors closed, Diddy slapping her, beating her, yelling at her, and Cassie screaming out, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. And he says he was just kind of frozen in place. He didn't know what to do. And prosecutors asked him, why didn't you intervene? Why didn't you go inside? And he said, look, I know this is somebody with a lot of resources. Quite frankly, I was afraid for my life. Now that drew a lot of objections from the defense, but the judge allowed that testimony. And he again reiterated that he was scared in that moment for Cassie, feeling like she was in a dangerous situation, but he didn't feel it was safe enough for him to intervene.
We thought what we saw in that awful video from the Intercontinental was bad, but to hear the actual graphic details of what Cassie and others endured day after day for years is just completely heartbreaking. And to hear the sex worker actually try to offer her aid when, she was being beaten, and literally she went to him for solace, as opposed to the person who supposedly loves and cares about her. She had to jump into the arms of a sex worker, and he was literally like, this is not okay. You need to leave this relationship. And she did, unfortunately, what so many survivors do, which is, I'm okay, it's gonna be okay, basically I can handle this. And the reality is she really needed to get out because she was being violated and degraded in so many different ways. And my heart just breaks for her so much.
Melba, you're so right. Ours do as well. What's it going to be like today when she is perhaps called? We think that she's going to be witness number 3. We have a clip where we caught up with her lawyer outside of the courthouse on Monday. Let's take a quick look.
How is Cassie? Is she emotional? Is she like feeling okay with this? Is she nervous?
She's ready.
She is ready. She's also pregnant, God bless her, and visibly pregnant too. So
Diddy didn't just watch from the sidelines. He sat back and observed as Cassie was forced to have sex with escorts, shelling out a staggering $4,000 to $6,000 each time to keep the twisted cycle going. But here's the shocking twist. It was Cassie herself who called the escorts. Even more disturbing, she was the one who asked an escort to urinate on her. Why would she do that? The answer is heartbreaking. Cassie revealed that it wasn't by choice. It was out of fear. Fear of what Diddy would do if she refused. Every time Cassie tried to break free, Diddy didn't just let her go. He hunted her down, using his employees and bodyguards as enforcers to keep her trapped under his control. This wasn't just abuse. This was a cage, forged with power, money, and ruthless intimidation.